church family. My name is Stephen Helm, Director of Christian Education at Christ Our Redeemer Lutheran Church, and you're watching Devo with Stevo. Now this Sunday, we celebrate Reformation Sunday. What is Reformation Sunday? It's the Sunday when we remember Martin Luther. You see, Martin Luther was a monk. And about 500 years ago, he realized that the church at the time had strayed away from God's grace, God's word, and God's faith. He knew that the people weren't hearing the truth from the church leaders, and that meant they really weren't free. So he went to the church door, he took a hammer and some nails, and he nailed to the door all the things that he felt needed to change, needed to be reformed, so that the church could be what God intended it. Well, that was the start of the Reformation and started the changes that needed to happen. We decided a couple years ago that we were going to do the same experiment that Martin Luther did by taking this door right here to the campus of the University of South Florida. And we asked students and faculty that passed by to let us know what their impressions of church were, whether they went or whether they didn't go, and why. And then we invited them to nail their points of view to the door, just like Martin Luther, so we could get some insight into what reforms might be needed today. Imagine that. The church could be even better. The church could grow and change and become the voice of God and the hands and feet of God in this world, doing good, sharing God's love and compassion. Reminds me of the gospel story today. In our gospel lesson today, we find Jesus in the temple, in the church, teaching to the leaders and everybody gathered there, and giving them insight into what the truth of God really was, and what real freedom really meant. And we find it in the Gospel of John, chapter 8, starting in verse 31, where Jesus says, "If you continue in my word, you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free." You see, the people of Israel at that time, they were leading the church, but they weren't the leading law of the land. The Roman government was in charge. So where could the people go if they couldn't trust the government for their needs, and they weren't sure if the religious leaders were telling them the truth? Where would they find the truth? Jesus gives them that answer. "If you continue in my word, you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free." Jesus said it then. 500 years ago, Martin Luther reminded us once again, and the church's voice is calling out to us once more to let us know, where can we find truth? Where can we find freedom? We find it right here in God's word, where Jesus' words were the words of Christ, and the gospel and the good news is what sets us free and gives us the truth of salvation, of grace, and of love for all of us, for all time. And this is good news. Don't forget that, dear church. Cling to God's word when you're searching for truth. Come to God's word when you're seeking freedom, and share it with your neighbors, your families, and with a world that needs to hear the truth so desperately. And may God's peace be with you.